we are good to go. Let's see here, make sure it's working. All right, looks like we're good to go. So welcome everyone. Welcome to the 5th workshop in our virtual ministry fair, Servants of the Spirit, Gifts for Ministry, on the topic of trauma-informed care, presented by Stacey Roth and Cindy Macias of Hillsides. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Ms. Annabelle Garay for providing Spanish translation for tonight's session. Please be sure to click on the interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen and select English or Spanish. And a quick note to our presenters, make sure not to go too fast to make Annabelle's life a little bit easier as she translates. This session is being live streamed on the Diocesan Facebook page and YouTube channel, and the recording will remain available for viewing on demand. A link to that video, along with the resources presented, will also be available on the convention website. At this time, I ask everyone to mute yourselves. Anytime you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat and we will answer them following the presentation. And now I turn it to you, Stacey.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to share my screen to begin. Okay. So tonight we are here to talk to all of you about what is trauma-informed care and how do we actually use it as a concept out in the world with other people. My name is Stacey Roth. I am the CEO and president of Hillsides. Hillsides is a private nonprofit organization, and we provide mental health services. We provide residential services. We have a non-public school, foster care and adoptions. And we also provide housing for former foster youth that are now young adults. Cindy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Macias, and I am the division chief for foster care and adoptions. And I sit on our trauma-informed care committee that meets weekly. So I'm actually really happy to be here with you all today.
Okay, so we are going to start with a video. This is a 4-minute video, 4 minutes and 24 seconds actually. And I think it's a great starting point to talk about trauma-informed care. I guess if you cannot hear it, please let us know via the chat.
That kid, every time I'm pulling out, he's right there. Man, someone needs to talk to his parents if they're ever at home. What is up with the traffic today? It's always, every day, this intersection's always crowded. I hate pulling out of here. I need some of these dumb roads. Oh, there's... Okay, so I'm not even here. Right. Great lady. The princess of parking. Oh, sure. Take the spot. Way to be considerate. Oh... Kidding me? Unbelievable. Oh.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's about time. Let's see, what do I want?
Yeah, could I add a cookie to that order? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no problem, only guy in the world. I'm sure you need your cookie. The world, your oyster, and he's serving your cookie.
Thank you so much. What can I get for you?
Yeah, I'll have a tall decaf macchiato.
Yeah, sure, no problem. $3.85. And it might take a few minutes here. We've got quite a line, obviously, and thanks for your patience.
Great. Yeah, great. Great for me. Winning again. Unbelievable. What? What is... What is that? What in the world? What am I supposed to do? How can I do anything about that? Can I even help with that? I don't.
Your copy, sir.
I can't take this anymore. I gotta get out of here.
Hey, watch it.
Sorry, so sorry.
Hey, buddy, come here.
So I love that video because it's a great realistic depiction of how important it is to step back and think about what could be going on for the person in front of you. And that is one of the major tenets of trauma-informed care. How many times have you gone to Starbucks and waited on a line and been frustrated? Or the one I love, this is so LA, he called that woman the parking princess. You know, how many times are you sitting there in your car, waiting for the parking spot, and another person pulls in, and you're thinking, that's so rude. And the blip above her head was grieving her best friend. So this woman is probably experiencing some depression. She may be out of it. She may have not even seen his signal on to turn into the spot. So I think this whole video depicts great instances of when you could interpret someone wronging you or being rude, when really it's about what's going on for them and has nothing to do with you. I'm going to refer back to the video throughout the presentation. You know, when we talk about trauma-informed care, first, I know most of you, if not all of you, know the definition of trauma, but it's important to just review it. What really is trauma? And really what trauma is an event or circumstance where you experience either a physical or emotional threat. You feel that your life is in danger and that it's going to affect your functioning. And for all of us, it's different. We all come to this world with different experiences from our childhood and our life. And because of that, it affects how we interpret current events. I'll give you a great example. Let's say someone was in a pretty serious car accident where they felt their life was threatened or that they could have died, right? Cut to 3 years, and obviously they're okay. And 3 years later, they get into a minor fender bender to the point there's really no damage on the car. And of course, they use a car reference because pre-COVID, we spend a lot of time in our cars in LA. So minor damage on the fender of the car, and the person is traumatized, the person that was in the car, and is now in therapy weekly just to talk about this car accident. Someone might say, are you kidding me? There was no damage. Well, sure, but that person is re-experiencing the trauma of the serious car accident 3 years ago. So it's important to note that trauma is very individualized, and it's based on you feeling a threat. It's not if the other people around you felt the threat, it's your personal experience. Which leads us to the definition of trauma-informed care. And it's recognizing and responding the effects of all types of trauma. It's creating an environment that's sensitive to the needs of those affected by trauma. And the key tenet here is TIC asks, what happened to you? Not what's wrong with you. Because I think that's key here. If we go back to the parking princess, right, that he called that woman that took his parking spot, that's negative, that's a negative connotation. Oh, parking princess. And he stigmatized her and he made it about what is wrong with her, when truly it was about what happened to her. She was grieving the loss of her best friend. Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on one second here. Let's see. It went from
Click on from current slide. That should get you back into it.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. At our organization at Hillsides, this sign is laminated and at every site because I think it's so important. It goes back to the video of thinking about, I call it the blip, on like a cartoon on top of each person's head. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. And I think that's so important to always remember. We just don't know what people are struggling with in the moment. So what does this, oh, sorry, go ahead, Cindy. And just say next slide and I'll do next slide.
Thank you. So what does this battle look like? Next slide. And if we look at a normal threat response, you can see the graph here. You have a stressor, activation, you go back into calm. So going back to what Stacey was saying, the minor car accident, you check, make sure everyone's okay. You go into that hyper mode, and then you're able to de-escalate and know that everything is okay and go back to that retreat. Next slide. So a normal threat response, something is wrong. Am I safe? This is where you assess. The body reacts, extreme alertness, non-essential bodily functions stop, and you're focused thinking to assess the danger. So at that time, you're not thinking, oh, am I hungry? Am I cold? Your body goes into that response mode. You assess the situation. Am I in danger? Is everyone okay? How do I get myself out of this situation? You might see that heavy breathing, the sweat, and even sometimes you see like this over like extreme power or strength that comes during a crisis because you're able to respond, right? So going back to this car accident or even any crisis situation of fire, once you realize and assess, okay, we are all safe, everybody's okay, most people are able to go back into that safety mode. Oh, thank you. Someone mentioned I have an echo. Let me try to lower that. Give me a second, please. Okay. Okay. Let me know if this sounds a little bit better. Okay. Then thank you for that. I'll just stay a little bit closer, and if I echo, just let me know. So going back to that, once you assess danger is over, you're no longer in a crisis mode or an emergency state. Most people can go back to, you start regular breathing, you self-regulate, you relax, You call your support systems. Hey, this and this happened. You know, I'm grateful that I'm okay. Everyone is safe. So you go back to that normal state of response. Next slide, please. And this is the maladaptive threat response. So this is what we're talking about in terms of when there has been previous trauma and there's the activation of that stressor. Some people go into panic, rage, fear, anxiety, or the opposite, right? Numb, depressed, cut off, unable to respond. So again, given an example of, you know, maybe you are walking in a crowded area and someone accidentally bumps you. If you are able to self-regulate and you're not responding from a trauma mode, oh, excuse me, sorry about that, you know, and you move on. But someone who may have, let's just say, you know, in the past been snuck up on or beaten or hurt or physically attacked, their response is going to be in that hyper arousal. They're going back to, even though it's not a threat, they feel very threatened. And that's where you sometimes see that rage and that panic and that overreaction to most people. Or they freeze, right? So something is happening to their child and most people would be able to get into that response mode. But if you're responding from this, you know, malfunctioning place, maybe there is no response. Maybe they freeze and there's inability to do anything about it. Next slide, please. So this also speaks to kind of the old trauma, the alertness, the heart rate, the fear, defensive stance. And you can't think, you can't function. You go into this, again, fight, flight, or freeze mode. And that's where, again, if there was some situation, sometimes you see that road rage, you know, and it was just an accident. They kind of cut in front, but they're unable to regulate. And those small triggers that most people can just move forward, this person is not. It's coming from a trauma. They've had several incidents or maybe one major incident in their life. They're not present in that sense. They're not dealing with what's happening. Oh, this car just accidentally came in front of me too close. I'm okay. I'm still safe. Fear, you know, defense, you know, rage, even their body goes into, our body has memory. So it goes into this panic mode. Next slide, please. Manipulation, that's Stacey.
What is manipulation and why do people use it? I'm sure some of you are chuckling as I say that, because I'm sure there are times where you have parishioners that come to you and, you know, you're wondering, So let's talk a little bit about this. You know, it's a survival mechanism. And so many times we use the word manipulation negatively because it has a negative connotation. But if you think about what Cindy presented in the moment, sometimes someone is just trying to survive. They're just trying to get rid of these negative feelings, and they will do whatever they can to get rid of them. Just a little disclaimer, we use the word clients. So I'll try to use parishioners, but if I use clients, you'll know what I mean. So why is it so difficult for parishioners to ask for directly what they want versus trying to work it, right? Oh, let me go back for 1 second. Well, let me go back for 1 second. So I don't know if anyone wants to put in the chat their thoughts on this. If not, I don't know if Samantha, if anyone, this was our little effort at making it a little more interactive. Okay, so I'll answer that. Why is it hard for just people in general to ask for what they want? Well, there's a fear. There's a fear that the answer could be no. There's a fear that you're making yourself vulnerable by asking for help. There's a fear that, because when you're asking for something you need, not only are you making yourself vulnerable, you're creating intimacy with another person. And for some people, that's very scary. So in the concept of stepping back and remembering other people's experiences and what they could be thinking about in the moment, it's important to think about these things as well, that sometimes the way someone approaches you is their best effort, and it's due to they're just trying to get their needs met in the best way that they can in the moment.
Someone actually did offer in the chat, might be difficult to ask directly for what you want because you expect to be turned down.
Yes, thank you for whoever said that, because I think for a lot of people, especially people that are in situations where they've experienced a lot of trauma, abandonment, neglect, abuse, yeah, they're not only are they used to hearing no, they're used to hearing no in a possibly dangerous and violent manner. So what's interesting with people that have experienced some severe trauma, they have figured out coping mechanisms on how to get their needs met. And sometimes it doesn't feel good to us, but it's their best way at navigating how to get their needs met. So this goes to, is it really manipulation? You know, I think people may call it that, especially because for a lot of people, it brings up negative feelings. People have shared, they feel angry, they feel stupid, foolish, played when someone is able to ask them for what they need, but in a way that's very indirect. So what can we do when we feel that way? One of the things is obviously talk about it with another colleague. I think what we've learned is processing situations with a fellow colleague helps bring about some answers. Because you know, it's the old saying, you can't see the forest through the trees. When you're in it, it's so hard to step out of it and see the situation. So if you bring a colleague in, they could say, hey, wait a minute. Remember, they had that experience. It may be really hard for them to approach you. And the key here is, what was the need that the person was trying to meet? Because that's the key here. They're truly just trying to get their needs met. And also recognizing their trauma. So key points to recognizing someone's trauma is, and I say this over and over again to people, 99.9% of the time, a person's reaction has absolutely nothing to do with you. And I even said that about the parking princess, right? Nothing to do with you and everything to do with what they're feeling and thinking in the current moment. That's why that quote, you know, you don't know what people are what's going on for someone, be kind, because you just don't. And we do a lot of employee to employee interaction to help improve communication, and we use these trauma-informed care principles. And we tell our staff all the time, if one of your coworkers comes in and snaps at you unexpectedly, 99.9% of the time it has nothing to do with you, and it has to do with what's going on for them. Remember that the person is probably triggered based upon their past traumatic experiences. As I gave you the major car accident versus the not so major car accident example, we are triggered by our past. So at any given moment, we can get triggered. And if we're unable to regulate that in the moment, it's going to come out. Being patient and compassionate to what a person may be experiencing. This, I think, is so key. Just stepping back and thinking about, this is what they're experiencing. It's not about me. Let me just be patient and compassionate with them. And remembering they're not being negative. They are using maladaptive behaviors to survive and to eliminate these intolerable feelings. If you think about the graph that Cindy showed for a maladaptive threat response, you know, and how it was jagged like this, can you imagine going through life like that? for me, it would be very jarring. 1 minute to be down low and the next minute to be enraged, but then down low again. I mean, that's so people that experience a lot of trauma are just trying to eliminate the intolerable feelings at all times. Go ahead, Cindy.
All right, so the journey to becoming trauma informed, and this is my favorite part of the presentation, because I think it's things that we can do to have a trauma informed care environment. At our agency, we deal with a lot of trauma. And so our vision, Hillsides promotes a client-driven, strength-based organization of excellence that embraces communities using trauma-informed care principles and builds trusting, collaborative relationships. And, we started this journey about 8 years ago, and it's definitely been years in the making. But some of the things that we have been doing as an organization to keep this in the forefront of what we do is TIC, or trauma-informed email tips. So these go out to all of the employees, and you're going to have the PowerPoint, I believe, so I won't go through every single one of them, but I will kind of go over some of the things that are really important that we have found helpful as we do this work. So, an emailing tips is a great one, because you don't have the face-to-face. You can't really hear or see body language, hear tones, and emails can go a long way. So
I just like to add, sorry, Cindy, I'd like to add text too.
Oh yeah, thank you.
There's no difference with text. I just thought of that, Cindy. Go ahead.
Yes, totally. Text or email, it's impersonal. And how often do we get in front of a computer in between meetings or in between doing multitasking and send a quick email or a quick text? And unfortunately, I should say fortunately, we've sent out these tips, and you are upset. One of the things that we've sent out, and as a reminder, is take a moment. Don't respond right away. Take 5 minutes before you send that text, before you send that email. Don't use, red capital exclamation marks. Again, I think those are things that make a big difference in how we communicate and how we create a trauma-informed care environment. These are our colleagues. These are people we're gonna work with. So being mindful of these things have really come a long way in our organization. This one also is about email tips, and it's, know when and when not to use email or text messages. There's some things that need to be said verbally. You need to hear someone's tone. You need to be able to read body language. And instead of sending a quick text or an email, pick up the phone and call. And these are some of our tips to kind of keep a trauma-informed care environment. This is great for us, because I think sometimes we have to send, some messages and set deadlines, and, how do we do this in a trauma-informed care way? And some of the things that we have done, again, is look at our language, what message we're sending. This is just a friendly reminder that the notes are due in a week, or that we have a deadline coming up, versus all capitals, we must do this. There is a difference. And how we communicate impacts our relationships.
I see a yellow thing that says too quiet. Are we okay, Samantha? Okay. I'm sorry.
I think we're fine.
Okay, awesome. So some of the activities that we've done is we really assessed our environments, and we really heard what our employees wanted and needed. To help them feel better and create a trauma-informed care environment. So as you see some of the things that we've done is we created TIC spa water and wellness baskets. At each of our sites, we had, one identified person who, regular water that we drink, just cut up some fruit and it just made it a little more spa-like, right? It took a couple of minutes and just a commitment to doing that. We have wellness baskets, which have trauma-informed care sprays and lotions, calming lotions, nice scents, tea baskets. And again, yes, it took a little bit of time to put these together, but they went such a long way at each of our sites because it really promoted what we were trying to have all of our employees engage in. We created staff break rooms so that when they did feel overwhelmed or that they did deal with a crisis or trauma, they could step away for a couple of minutes and take a break. And then we did TIC shout out boards, which each site, you'd shout out, great job, Stacey, great job, Samantha. You did, wonderful with helping me during the Christmas event or in volunteering or being supportive. And we also started, and each site kind of took its own little course of what they wanted to do, but some of the staff decided they wanted to take a couple of minutes from their lunch break and do something healthy and walk or meditate or do yoga groups. And we continue to do this and encourage it. And we sent monthly self-care emails with these tips. And that has continued for the last several years to keep this in the forefront of what we do. There's a picture of some of the activities that we did, the TIC shout outs and the replenish your thirst with this pitcher of delicious water.
And these can be used at your location for your coworkers, or you could use them for parishioners as well. I was thinking how nice to have, like, when someone volunteers, just putting up there, Judy, thank you for volunteering and handing out food last week. That was awesome. So we try to make this half educational and then half practical. We want you to be able to walk away with some tools that you can use. So we call these TIC tips, and I'm gonna run through one with you, and Cindy's gonna run through one with you. And it's just helpful to do at the beginning of a meeting. If you're sitting with someone that's having a really hard time, maybe a parishioner that's coming for some consolation in regards to whatever's going on in their life, sometimes it helps to just ground people and get them to a place of calm and equilibrium. So this one is called belly breathing. TIC shifts your attention from something unpleasant to something that feels more comfortable. One way to shift your focus is to take deep breaths. Deep breathing exercises take very little time and can be done anywhere. So if you all don't mind, I call this pressing the reset button. If you can sit in your chair or whatever you're sitting in, arms resting comfortably and feet flat on the floor. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. I'm going to have you breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, and you want to feel your belly expanding. I actually learned this. I thought when you breathe in, if you breathe in correctly, your stomach goes in, but it's actually the opposite. It expands. You're going to hold that breath for a count of 7, and then you're going to blow out slowly through your mouth for a slow count of 8, and I'll count for you all. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. No, hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now slowly breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, let's do that one more time. And the second time doesn't hurt. We are in a pandemic. Okay, breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now blow out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so just notice how you feel and take note within yourself, how your body feels, how does your mind feel. Many people report, including myself, that it just helps in the moment kind of calm yourself down and really look at it like a reset button. And remember, tough times don't last forever. And you can use calming techniques to get through life's rough patches. I can't tell you how many times I've realized I'm not breathing. Like I'm so tense in the moment. And then when I'm like, breathe, I realize, oh, I wasn't breathing. So, okay, Cindy.
So as Stacey mentioned, we have TIC tips, and tip 12 is rituals. We actually have our entire workforce start each meeting with a tip. And so this would be one of the tips, the values meeting. Tip 12 would be the rituals. So the tip is rituals are an important part of our lives. When you feel stressed, knowing you can count on certainties, such as ordering a latte every morning at your favorite coffee shop, can be comforting. So for you coffee lovers, you can definitely relate to this, but it really is just the meaning of, whatever works for you and however it works for you. So some rituals are done daily, others are on occasions or events, weekly family dinners or holiday get-togethers. But these rituals keep memories and traditions alive. Ask your team to think of rituals they practice at work and or at home. How do these rituals enhance their lives? So I can, just share. It's great when you guys have this dialogue with your own team because you learn a lot. And everybody has different rituals. I remember one of the teams that we did this tip, for some people, it was the minute that they disconnect from work, like just really the ritual of how do you disconnect from a go dealing with crisis and transition to your home life. And for some, it was the minute they walked in the door, they put on their comfortable clothes and, shut off their phone and put on music. And that made them get into the ritual of like getting home, the transition. For others, it was that cup of coffee in the morning or that check-in with, whoever at work. That was a ritual, something they look forward to, something they had memories. So rituals are really important, and it's really great to hear what other people do as far as rituals. It's a way to connect as well.
Does anyone want to share in the chat box? I think, Cindy, as you're talking, specifically now, rituals are important because many of the rituals we might not be able to engage in due to the pandemic. So I think either developing pandemic-friendly rituals or engaging in the ones you can are even more important now to have that comfort.
Thank you for bringing that up. One of the challenges with the pandemic has been that many of us connect with people and relationships, and our coworkers are really important. And now we've all been disconnected from our rituals, from our, family, friends, coworkers. So one of the things that we have done in our organization is what we call TIC, Trauma-Informed Care Mixers. And this is just once a month, a fun event. It is virtual, it's through Zoom, but it's like games and activities, and it's like simple. It's like a $5 gift card, but they're like trivial questions or get to know you questions, or like music in the background, and if you can identify who the singer is or the movie. And that connection was so crucial during a pandemic. And so that's a new ritual that we created because we can't be together. We don't get to lunch together in the break room anymore. And the closing remark is rituals can help us feel grounded when we feel out of control. They are also important times to come together with friends and families to thank and acknowledge everyone. And, with us, I think sometimes we, again, have really stressful days or stressful moments. And that ritual, something that's familiar, something that grounds us and makes us feel in control, can really help us with that regulation, with that self-care.
So we just wanted to share with you some of our staff's perspectives. I'm just changing my screen here. Some of our staff's perspectives on trauma-informed care and how it has helped them. This is a woman that works in our residential facility. I've learned patience with my coworkers. Sometimes it helps to take a deep breath and remember they are stressed too. This is a person that works in our non-public school. I don't take it personal. I remember people are upset for the things going on in their own life, and I don't internalize it. You know, and as I read these, they mirror the tenets that we have been talking about throughout the training. So it goes to show the more you reinforce these with people, the more that they internalize it and get it. This is one of our music therapists, big shock. TIC helps me handle people when they are upset and to understand how to work with them better. And last, this is one of our child care workers in residential. I learned to take better care of myself. When I feel better, I can do a better job of taking care of my clients. So next, we have another video that I think encapsulates the importance of just acknowledging the simple things in life.
There's a lot that the kids need to know. A letter to a person on their first day here. Today, over 360,000 babies will be born, and you are one of them. Welcome, this is the world. It's a pretty cool place. There's lots to see, smell, there's corn dogs. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's just so much to do. Singing, and dancing, oh, and laughing. Laughing's the best. It's especially great when you laugh and milk comes out of your nose. But only if you just have milk. Otherwise, it's just gross. Some days gross things will happen. Some days awesome things will happen. Some days you'll get ice cream. Some days you won't. Some days your kite will fly high. Some days it gets stuck in the tree. It's just how it is here. There's plenty of reasons to dance. You just gotta look for them. Don't worry though, you won't be doing this alone. You're gonna meet lots of people here. Some of them will be really nice, and some won't be. It's not that they can't be, it's just, maybe they're just having a bad day. Being a person is hard sometimes. You should give people high fives just for getting out of bed. Oh, high fives, I forgot to explain that. How do I explain this? It's kinda, high fives are like hitting someone who is your friend. That's really bad. Just treat everybody like it's their birthday, even if they don't deserve it. Because we all mess up sometimes. The biggest mess up, not forgiving each other's mess ups. Maybe you'll be a teacher. Maybe you'll be president. Maybe you'll cure every disease ever. You might even see the Grand Canyon, swim in the ocean. Oh, this is so much. It's a lot. Try this. Take a breath. Isn't that amazing? It's called breathing. You're gonna do it a lot, and nobody knows exactly how much. So enjoy it. Pay attention. Take brain pictures. Because amazing things will happen every day. You're gonna do so much. But it's not about what you do. It's about who you are. And you're awesome. You're made that way. You're made from love, to be loved, to spread love. And love is always louder, no matter what. Even if hate has a bullhorn, love is louder. So let your life be loud. Let's shout to the world. Things can be better. It's okay about all the mess ups. Corn dog rule. Sorry, I'm just keep bringing that up. I don't think I told you this yet. We're really glad you're here. We don't say that enough to each other here because, well, life gets busy. You're gonna be important and you're gonna do a lot and you're gonna smell great, but don't get too busy. Remember to let everybody know you're glad they're here. You don't have to remember all this right now. You're gonna need a pep talk sometimes, and that's okay. For now, remember this. You're awake, you're awesome, live like it.
So we're a big fan of Kid President. He's just he's a great pick-me-up and a great way of explaining simple concepts such as just give someone a high five for getting out of bed. Because, you know, hearing that, especially in the pandemic, really hit me thinking, yeah, sometimes it's just hard to get out of bed. So these videos, if you just go online, you can look up Kid President. There's a ton of them. We like to use any kind of pick me up or inspirational video to either start a meeting or end a meeting. I think it sets the tone. And sometimes we need that, especially when we have difficult things to discuss.
Stacey, we have a couple of questions. One of them is, I run a web-based brain tumor support group. How do I apply this when we are not in the same place? And then the second question is, how quickly will this be available online? A group I'm part of is having a meeting tomorrow night to discuss a problem with a member.
Okay, so the second question is a Samantha question, because I don't know how quickly it'll be online. But let's address the first question. Is basically, how do you use these concepts online in an online group setting? Is that the question? That's a great question. So really, it's no different than being face to face. I mean, in the sense that the information is the same. I think the challenge, and this is why you're asking the question, is how do you interact with someone and know that even something could be going on for them when you're on Zoom? And it's a tough one. After almost a year on Zoom, for me, what I've done is just be aware. And this is also, if there's more people then that fills the first screen, you know, with Zoom, you can have other screens, then this is hard to do on the other screens. But what I can do on the screen that I'm seeing is, as I'm speaking, I'm watching people and I'm watching their reaction. And actually what's interesting about Zoom is that if you're sitting in a circle with people, or if you're in front of a podium, this is all pre-COVID, and watching them, it's hard to watch everyone. But I find on Zoom, it's a lot easier to quickly scan each person's face to see what their reaction is. For example, I've been watching Samantha. She's my only person I can watch. But like when she laughs, I'm like, oh, okay, good. She thinks what I said is funny. Or, oh, it looks like she's touched by the video.
So Stacey, I think it's a Facebook group, so there is no Zoom. So that does bring in a challenge. Okay. That was clarification there.
Oh, that does. You know what? Then I think, you know, I'm trying to picture myself in that moment. What I would do is probably ask people to volunteer, because I'm sure there's a chat box. I'm not familiar with Facebook, but if there's a way to engage people via a chat box, I would try that. It's very challenging, though, if you can't see people. That's a really good question, and very appropriate for the times. Cindy, I don't know if you have any good ideas otherwise, because it's been mostly Zoom, so we could see people. And besides using the chat, I'm unsure what else would be helpful.
Here, actually, Alan, why don't you go ahead and unmute so you can explain a little bit better?
Okay, here I am.
Hi.
Yeah, there's not a lot of us here, so I thought, well, maybe it would be easier for me to just, you know, try and ask the question. I have a Facebook group, and I have now almost 3,000 members in that group, and I get people, they ask to join the group, and they're panicked. They've just been diagnosed that day with a brain tumor. It's meningioma, so they're not they're benign tumors. They're not cancerous, but still, it can cause a lot of damage and a lot of problems. And they're just panicked when they come into the group. Now, I do use some of them seem like when they're writing, it's like they're not taking a breath. And one of the things I tell them is stop, breathe, and you know, take a few breaths and back off a little bit. It'll be okay if you can, you know, get your mind to stop whirling. One of the benefits of the group is there's so many of them people, and there's a lot of very active members, that when people say, I've been diagnosed with one by my optic nerve or something, well, there's 20 people that can comment, well, I've had this experience and I came out okay and everything is good. So I don't know if there's anything more that you have, but it seems like I try and keep up. One of my main things in my explanations is be kind to each other. And there's a lot of people on there from other countries who don't speak English well, and you can barely understand what they're trying to say. But that's one of the big rules that I have, is to be kind to each other, and let people know that there is somebody that's feeling the same way they are. And that helped them a lot, is feeling the same way they are. So I don't know, maybe I'm adding to what you're doing rather than asking a question, but it's been a pretty successful group. And I felt like, every now and then I get an email from somebody that says, this saved my life. I couldn't have made it through this because I was by myself. My husband doesn't understand. My doctor keeps telling me, oh, you're imagining your symptoms. And I mean, you have to, number one, believe that they have a problem. They're traumatized by this news. And so believing that they have a problem like that, acknowledging it, and then saying, I've gone through a lot of the same things, has helped a lot, even in this format where, you can't see them and it's not an immediate response. Somebody might comment and then I get to see it, 8 hours later. So it's not the same as what I was wondering if this was going to cover anything like that. Didn't seem to.
So, Alan, would you say that your question is more, how can we apply these principles to a format where it's mostly text? In a Facebook group like that, someone will give a post and then anyone can comment on it later. So, Stacey, Cindy.
Yeah, basically that's it.
Alan, you're doing great work. First of all, 3,000 people, that's amazing. And it's how inspiring that you can get feedback also, that it's really helping people. So thank you for that. One idea that I was thinking about is, what if you started the group each time with a grounding type exercise? Because you said you could tell when someone is chatting with you or responding to you, you could tell it's quick and they're anxious, and you tell them to breathe. I almost wonder if starting the meeting with a grounding or breathing exercise, you can't see it, but it may automatically just help people calm. And
it would have to be an individual thing, because we don't have meetings. It's everybody comments. They're all in different time zones. They're all over the world. So everybody comments at their own time.
Is there a board, like a board where you could post and people could go to, some trauma-informed care tips or some self-care tips or motivational videos? Is that a possibility? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with it as well.
Well, it sounds like maybe you could create content in your Facebook group. You could make posts with these exercises or links to videos or things like that. Just creating that content for them and posting it in the group, maybe.
Yes, I could probably do something like that, and that would be a good suggestion. In the Facebook group, you make a post and it's at the top, and then as more people post, they go on top of it, and it finds its way down and eventually is lost in the depths. And so, it's you don't have interaction in a group like you've got here.
Sounds really challenging.
It's linear.
So I just put on the screen, Alan, our information.
Okay.
I mean, anyone can reach out to us, but feel free to reach out to us if you want some content to post. We have a library full of content, so maybe we could at least help you with some content. But
Okay.
yeah, you have that's a huge challenge.
Okay, yeah, I'll think about that. Of course, I have another thing too, and I don't know, this is a little easier. I'm also a volunteer with hospice here in Big Bear. And the people I'm just a visitor, basically. I go and visit the patients. I don't do any of the care. And I've been using some of the same things of kind of giving them something good to think about, memories to think about, go back and ask them about themselves and assure them that they're not by themselves. Is there anything specific to hospice that you could suggest?
I would have to, nothing, because we don't
Right.
directly deal with that on a daily basis. So nothing comes to mind, but that doesn't mean I can't look into it for you. Would you like me to look into?
You could, or I could just, right now, I haven't been visiting anybody because of COVID. So, but they tell me sometime soon I'll be able to go back and visit people. But I didn't know too much about this program that you're doing here. The little brief blip that I saw didn't describe a whole lot, so I wasn't sure whether any of it would apply or not.
Yeah. Well, please reach out to me if you're interested, or maybe when you go back to visiting. I am more than happy to look from resources around, like other tips for hospice patients.
Okay.
Doing great work. Thank you, Alan. I mean, it's amazing.
Stacey, how many of those TIC tips do you have? You showed 2 of them. How many are there?
We have 52, one for every week. So we have 52 in a guidebook, and we are now creating version 2. And Cindy, how many tips will there be? 52 tips in that guide as well?
We haven't decided. It is the focus of this version 2 is on hope and resiliency. We don't have an exact amount that, but our goal would be to probably go with the 52, the fable.
But just thinking in terms of Alan's Facebook thing, if you had a tip of the week, and then even though they got buried, you might be able to, and that's obviously renewable every year, and some are going to be more popular, but perhaps that's a way of incorporating some of that into what you're doing, Alan, which is terrific work. Blessings to you.
That's a great idea, because it really promotes dialogue. So I imagine even in a chat, posing a question, it's relatable. It's to create some dialogue, and also some self-care and coping, which anybody going through any type of medical trauma, many medical issues, could benefit from, whatever they feel comfortable doing. But it would give them some probably tips and tools that they can use in there.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So Alan, please, I don't have your contact information, so please reach out. We're more than happy.
Okay. Mine's really simple. It's my name, which is up there without a space.
I don't see it.
Oh, you don't see it?
Yeah,
at gmail.com.
Yeah,
I can connect you guys.
Okay, thank you. Samantha, there was another question asking, when would this content be online?
Yes. Right now, the slides are posted on the convention website. I put a link there. It's diocesanconvention.com/workshops. The slides are up right now. And I'll go ahead and include the links to the videos either tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. So now is the right time. Any more questions, comments? Would love to hear from you all.
And we put our contact information up there because we want you to reach out if you want. As my kid would say, it's not a foffer, which is combining fake and offer. It's not a fake offer. It's not a foffer. We truly are. Any way we can help out.
And I see another question. Yes, we're live streaming right now on Facebook and YouTube, and those videos will remain there available on demand. And I'll include a link to the YouTube video also on the convention website. So yes, definitely will be available to watch later.
And by the way, interestingly enough, the first video that we viewed was developed by a church. I think it was a Baptist church. We happened to just find it. But yeah, it was developed. I thought it was so well done.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, absolutely. So, any other questions? Any other parting thoughts you'd like to leave us with, Stacey and Cindy?
You know, I want to wish you all health and peace, because I think during these times that's really important. And to remember to take care of yourself. I think what's so unusual about these times is that, well, we're going through what everybody else is coming to us to talk about, for the most part, is going through, right? Or at least a part of it. We have all committed our lives to service and to be of service. And this is probably the first time for many of us where we're all going through the same experience together. So it may be more challenging during these times to be able to just pick yourself up and be there for another person that maybe it wasn't so hard to do in 2019 or 2018. So I encourage all of you to remember that, and remember you're human, and to cut yourself some slack when maybe you didn't give a spot on answer, or you felt like you could have done a better job. Cut yourself some slack, because it's just as hard for any one of us as it is the person that's coming to us for help and assistance. And thank you for all that you do for everybody, because frankly, we all need an outlet, and a lot of us really identify with our religion and spirituality. So it's people like you that we come to for that. So thank you for all the great work that you do.
There's a great comment in the chat. Each of us is a fragile thread, but if you braid a bunch of threads together, you've got a rope, and a rope is strong.
I love it.
Love it. Thank you all for having us. It's nice to just see you all here and interested, and reach out to us if you have any questions. I think we're constantly learning and growing, and this pandemic has lasted way more than we would have imagined. So, we're going to need to practice these self-care and be kind to each other. So thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, everyone who joined us this evening. As I mentioned before, the recording is available on Facebook and YouTube. The next in our series will be on the topic of budget prep, narrative and zero-based budgeting with Bishop Diane Jardine Bruce. That will be Saturday, February 13th at 9 a.m. For more information, please visit the convention website, www.diocesanconvention.com. And that's it from me. Thank you all, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, Sam.